Hello, world and family. It's Soul Dr. Nick here, talking about money today. And primarily, these musings are for myself, by myself, through myself, with so much input from others. And I'm practicing sharing it. And I just had to take a breath because one of the things I've noticed about money recently is that we measure people based on their net worth, even the idea of net worth, like how much money are you worth? And three things came up, and none of these are just mine. It's all coming together through conversations, through people I've been with. But the idea of not just net worth, but net amount earned, net worth, and the net amount spent in a way. And I just want to bring those to relate those to even your breath. Breathing in, net earned. Holding at the top how big the volume is, net worth. Letting go, net spent. And it keeps coming and going and coming and going if we're really being honest. But these days, so much of it is we talk about just the net worth. Almost how much can you hold and accumulate? Like you're trying to hold a bigger and bigger breath without letting it go, which is why so many people, especially in the breath work, can get the in-breath in. But they're really letting go. It's so controlled because we're always holding on to, trying to find ways not to spend as much as we get. And I leave it all as spend because the ideas of charity, philanthropy, and all those things I think need some more nuance to take a look at, versus just looking at what's going out, what's flowing through us, versus what we're just trying to hold in. And the holding in really is when we're scared, we hold our breath. And we've got this collective fear right now, this collective fear. And in this collective fear, we've lost our belief in our own value, our own worthiness, our own ability to receive. Because when we receive, we're actually giving as well. We're giving someone else the opportunity to give. But so much has been this idea of we're a self-made person. Self-made man is the thing that's been said. A self-made person. It's like, oh, I can do it all on my own. And if we actually look at it, we've never done it all on our own. Especially we're born in this way where we're completely helpless. It's almost like we're designed for it to be impossible to be self-made. There's some other species, animals that could be, but we're not one of those. And so can we let go of that lie initially? And without human contact, we die, literally. They found that babies in incubators, if they don't get human touch, will die. And when they don't have incubators that we have here to actually house like premature babies, they can get a very similar result just by doing lots of skin-to-skin contact. And we forget that that closeness, that contact is important, because otherwise we get lost in our own being, our own separateness. It's in the togetherness, in the flow of life, and the flow of energy. And so that's even it for myself. And in that flow, how do I create the boundaries, though, for myself to be separate within the whole and the flow? And how do I actually look at my own restrictions and take responsibilities for it? I was talking to someone recently and I was talking about her gifts. I was like, she has absolutely amazing, life-changing gifts. And because she can't see the places where she is not the businesswoman, the negotiator, all those things, and her own self-worth, then everything she's negotiated before and created business with has been only a fraction of what it could be. Because we talk about all this growth being linear. It's not, it's exponential. And I often go back now to a child, a toddler, before toddler, a baby. So a baby learning how to walk, when they filmed it, it takes at least 10,000 falls before they walk. But they don't look at each fall as a failure. They just look at it as this is another practice, another practice, another practice. The fall is what we see, but what they're seeing is I'm trying to stand. And I can't stand forever, so therefore I'm going to not stand. Not standing is falling. Until they finally walk, and then it's an exponential jump. And often we want to see the first steps, but it's not the first steps that are the most important. It's all the stuff that led up to the first steps, which is also the same as life these days. We'll look at someone and say, oh my God, they're successful. Oh my God, they've made it. I need to be a part of it. I want to be part of it. How is it so easy? Versus actually owning all the steps before. And not that it has to be hard, but there is that piece that has impulse control or has the ability to stay on track. Like I can see that vision and I'm willing to keep going after it, even if I'm not getting the immediate results right now. And also having the wisdom to sometimes see you have to change tracks. Like the baby doesn't fall the same way every time for 10,000 times and then just suddenly walks. Every time it's a different nuance. Every time it's a different trial. And it was reminding me today, I was like looking at even the breath that I'm providing, whether it's individual, whether it's in group, whether it's with medicine, all these things. And every single one is amazing and perfect. And every single one I'm looking forward to changing. I'm changing in the moment even. And some people can really recognize that and hold that and be like, oh, okay, I still feel safe. And some people are like, no, you have to know exactly what you're doing. And I think it's both and. I know exactly what I'm doing. And I'm willing to see that every time it's going to shift. Because that's part of the enjoyment and fun of life. Like if we already knew how this game was going to end or how it gets played all the time, we get bored. Sometimes we would like that familiarity though. So if we look at it every day, for example, we may create something new. Yesterday, I spent a few hours getting guidance from a friend to declutter my room. And in that movement, there's so many things that we let go of that I've been holding on to years, some even decades. And afterwards, it was such a purging, a little death, a letting go that as a family, we like nap for over 3 hours. It's like there's so much that moved. But it was important. It was important. And I already lost track of that because there's a part of my mind that doesn't like that unfamiliar. Oh yeah, stepping out of the familiar in a big way. And then in the familiar, it's just resting. It's going a little bit on autopilot and being okay with both. And so in the breath sessions that we do, it's similar. Initially, I'm going to invite you to create the safe space where you actually step outside of your familiar breath, which is unconscious, slow, maybe controlled, maybe holding, to be this flowing, conscious, connected breath. And then after a while, your new familiar is different. You can actually just step into it and let it keep flowing. And then it's actually stepping out of it will take a little bit of work to step out of it. Sometimes for people, they're like, I want to keep going, versus this is not how I want to live life all the time. And so we're constantly shifting. And can we allow ourselves to consciously shift instead of unconsciously staying stuck in places? And that's where many of us, including myself, had been in money for a lot of the time. My own limiting beliefs. My own limiting beliefs have allowed me recently to look at the ways I've known how to make money and done it consistently and let go of some of the ones that don't feel as good. If it's not actually providing the benefits to everyone that I want, then why am I doing it? And I'm going to give you a concrete example. I know how to find things in technology ahead of time sometimes. And one of the things was this new camera that I've loved and been looking forward to. And I heard it being announced. I said, all right, I'm going to order it right away. Because even if I don't want to keep it, and there's a part of me that knew that I wasn't quite ready to invest in that because I'm investing in this business and everything else. It's like, I know I can sell it for more because there's going to be more demand than there's supply initially at least. It's like, I'm going to make a few $100s. Let's do it. And I actually didn't just do it once, I did it twice. Because it's like, why do it once when you can do it twice? And I had to sit with this and this energy and this not telling my wife right away because I was like, oh, she's going to talk about what if this doesn't work out? There's stories before, all this stuff. Until I realized, why am I spending energy on something that I don't really want? Like, how is this going to add to the world? I can justify it by saying I'm doing arbitrage or something else. There's always a business word to take something simple, make it complex, and get my own piece of it. But in the simplest form, I'm like, this is taking away from my energy that I want to spend with my family and my beloveds, or do what I'm doing here and with breath and sharing what I actually am, and doing something that I know is not really serving humanity, aside from maybe I can use my justification saying it's going to get in the hands of someone who really wants it. And so the biggest thing I did was to actually tell people around me what I was trying to do and say, I'm going to let go of this because I no longer want to play that game. And I no longer play on the game in the hundreds. I want to play in the game if I'm looking at stuff like that where it's exponential growth and where I get supported to do that because that's not my highest and best. And I'm not going to ignore my ability to do these things or to have these insights. It's just how do I have the most impact there in the 3D monetary world without taking up the bulk of my energy, which I really want to spend developing this, which is awakening others to their own divine gifts, because I think that's the piece that I can serve most. It's not that what I'm saying right now for you is the truth, it's the right thing. But what I imagine is it's awakening different ways of thinking, different ways of seeing. And in that awakening for you, you get to spread things that I can't even imagine too. It goes back and forth, giving, receiving is giving. And as I let go of those smaller problems, I can actually step into the bigger ones. It's the same thing as the decluttering. I'm letting go of all this stuff to make space for what I really want to call in. Because, to give you an example, my beloved and I want to call in 10 times our net worth this year. Why? Because we actually say, why go linear when exponential could be way more fun? And to give you an idea, in 10 years from now, I had this crazy idea. It's like 3.69 billion. That's what I want to create. And I couldn't figure out why, aside from maybe my own ego, greed, all that stuff. But really, there's a piece of it that I got from listening to Alex Hormozy. And he's more on the business side than I ever imagined I'd listen to. But I love it. I love him because he's bringing business into spirituality, I think. And his thing was, he's like, I'm not way better than others, but because I've made $100 million at 32 years of age, people listen to me. And Elon Musk isn't this amazing tweeter, but because he's been the richest man in the world, people will listen to him. And so part of it for me in growing this is both to prove to myself and then be able to have evidence that I can show others so that my message can go out further. And I want that message to go out further because I can see it. It's not that I'm spreading the truth, but I'm spreading activation for someone else to be more them, for their own messages to come up, so that we stop copying each other as much versus actually creating from our own creative intent. And that creative force has so much more capacity than we can even imagine. We've been measuring the world through an eye of a static, linear way versus realizing that we've got all these individuals that have unlimited potential, and can we actually allow them to tap and tune into it and trust that that unlimited potential is going to serve us? Which reminds me, the other piece, because I thought it was greedy, I was like, I tell people these days, like, you know what? We want to get to the place where we actually get to fly private. And I was like, why is that? Like, we keep getting told it's bad for the environment, it's wasteful, it's, arrogant, all these things. And I can see all of those as well. So know that I don't know the answer to how to balance that piece. But the piece that really came through to me is like, the way the system's set up right now, with all the screening, the airports, the rules, the restrictions, the going early, the wasting of time, energy, the sickness, the disease, the fear, in that area, that's what I want to skip. I want life to be so simple and so easy, and for those barriers to be lowered in a way that it's serving us all. That's the main reason. Like, I want to be able to go to these amazing places, see people in a way that I want, but I don't look at it as, if I can fly privately, I'm just going to keep jet setting over and over and over again. Like, one of the things that came to me as well is like, what if we don't have to cut down on travel, because there's going to be so many objections to that, but what if it's just, if you're going to go somewhere, depending on the distance, is how long you have to spend there. So if you're going to go somewhere that's a flight of 5 hours, you have to stay for at least 5 days. That in itself would change everything, and it would change the way we look at travel. And I love that idea as well. We've changed movement in this world where we take it for granted. I can go to the other side of the world in a day. But before, if you had to do walking, traveling, that would have taken months to years of your life. And that change is actually quite jarring on our system, not just in the time zone differences, but it's jarring energy and everything else. And can we honor that jar by actually willing to stay there long enough to make that worthwhile? To make it worthwhile, not just for ourselves, but everyone around us and around there. This whole idea of just traveling for a day for a business trip, I can both understand it, and it's gotten to the point where that, I think, is causing us more issues. So can we actually stay present with where we are long enough to make it worthwhile? And so that's part of these conversations too. And I expand these, eventually I'm going to expand these into conversations more, because really it's that interplay between two people. It's that seeing of a real problem, the seeing of a real life person going through their stuff. That's going to change things. But for now, I'm practicing this, because how do I get past my own limited desires and beliefs? And I really want to thank Eric Godsey and the Fit for Service community for that. Aubrey Marcus, Caitlin Howe, Kyle Kingsbury, Claire, the whole team there. There's such a large team. And that was my best investment last year, because it created a community of people that I know that I can trust. And here's the last piece maybe that I'll end with. The reason why communities like that are so powerful is that you get people who have skills, talents, beliefs together, who are willing to invest in themselves, who are willing to dive deep. But not only that, have created a level of trust where now I've got all these people I can network with, I can trust, and I can build things with. And the piece that's there for me to know that I can trust them more is that they would never want to be exiled from the community. And you can only do that by not being true and authentic, by looking at someone else as a means to an end versus someone to truly collaborate with. And I say that because there's been so many times, even in my own life, that I've been burned. And how many of us have that, but that's keeping you closed and constrained. And so how do you create and find communities, not just in that general nebulous community word, but really where you have this interaction, interplay, authenticity, intimacy, and where you have responsibility and self-organizing, where you can come together and create more than any individual can. And that's what's really happened with Ohana Breath. We've had 3 other fit for service people who've come on and in their own ways add to it. And I was like, why are you doing this? And then as I put, that just knows. It's because you see it and you believe in it. You believe in me, I believe in you. How can we grow each other while at the same time not being so attached to each other that without each other we're going to die? So many different concepts. Know that right now I'm still in my exploratory phase. I don't have a definite bead or thread. This is not a book. It's not so clear cut. But if you're willing to listen to this, there's something here for you. Feel free to drop any comments in. Feel free to message. Feel free to write. Join in a breath. The experiential piece is the biggest thing. And if you're ready to dive really far in to a large community where you're actually investing so much time, money, investment, join Fit for Service. And I was going to wait to post this video. I'm going to post it today, leaving a little link there. And whatever happens is whatever happens. Ciao for now.